I get asked about this constantly. How can I be happier? How can I feel more content? How can I start to smile again? Start to enjoy life more? So, one of the biggest problems that I think that people face is that it's nothing really tangible about searching for happiness. What does it really mean? How can I set goals around that? And when someone does set an intrinsic goal based on a future state of mind, then the first thing to remember is that goals, by their very nature, are end goals. They're only realized at a future date at best. So if your intrinsic goal, something internal to you, is, for example, to reach a state of happiness, then you'll only be happy, you'll only have realized that goal when you get to that end destination. And our goals are always going to feel like the top of a mountain because there's something we're setting ourselves to achieve, something that we know is currently out of reach. So we define happiness as something that needs aiming for, that needs climbing to get to, and therefore we'll only ever be happy when we get to that end destination. But also, as well, the nature of an intrinsic goal like that, something that's an internal, a feeling, an emotion that we're trying to achieve, is that it can lead to constant internal evaluation and therefore overthinking, anxiousness, depression, because we're asking ourselves the question constantly, am I happy yet? The other thing to remember is that pleasure is not happiness. Happy doesn't seem tangible, and therefore, because we can't buy it, because it's not easy to create, we end up searching for things that we can buy or that we can create and find and attain relatively easily. And therefore, those things become things that are pleasurable rather than things that give us long term happiness. So, for example, drugs, drink, risky relationships, even adrenaline sports, all of these things that we think are giving us happiness, but actually they're just giving us short term pleasure. They're giving us spikes of dopamine. And some of those things, by the way, can be absolutely fine in small measures. There's absolutely nothing wrong with adrenaline sports, if that's what you're into, to give you a little bit of a high feeling. But when we're turning to those things over and over again, thinking that they bring us happiness rather than accepting them for what they are, which is just dopamine spikes, pleasure, that's when it can become really dangerous. And we can start to go off in the wrong direction after having the right intentions. So you can actually quite often tell when someone is unhappy because they habitually and sometimes obsessively seek pleasure. Okay, so how do we avoid the pleasure trap? Well, the first thing is to make sure that at least one of your goals doesn't have to be your only goal. At least one of your main goals is an extrinsic goal. It's external to you. How can you help others? That doesn't mean that you can't focus on things to do with you and achieving things you want to achieve. But if you can make one thing about how you can help others, I guarantee you that the day you set that goal, you'll be happier than the day before. Because unlike an intrinsic goal based on moods and emotions and feelings, it's not the end goal that matters so much. Because as soon as you establish a goal to help other people, if I want to help 100 people feel better about themselves, well, the very next day that I'm on that path to trying to do that, I'll have a real feeling of self worth. So I'll be happy instantly knowing that I'm trying to do good for others. There's nothing selfish about it. So that will in turn give you the byproduct of happiness. So remember we talked earlier about happiness being your goal. That becomes an end goal, the summit of the mountain. But when you set an extrinsic goal about helping others, happiness becomes the byproduct of that goal and you can start feeling it immediately. So it's a really good thing to include. Having said that, like I've talked about, you can't just always set out to help other people. So one of your goals should also be to fulfill a greater purpose in life. What are the things that you want to finish your life having achieved? What are the huge things that you'd love to accomplish? The things that you'd like people to say about you in your eulogy at your funeral? The things that you would like to be talked about for long after you've gone? And again, that can be really hard to put into motion, to find the words for. And the book that I read a while ago really helped me with this. And it told me to list 20 things that I'm passionate about. The things that get me out of bed in the morning, the things that would always drive me, I would always choose to do them. And then write down the 20 things that I want to achieve in life, the huge milestones, the reason that I'd like to be on this earth, the things that you'd like to look back on at the end of your life and know that you've achieved and feel great about. And that is your purpose. And then you set about finding the intersections. Where do those passions meet your purpose? And if you can find that, it's absolute gold, because every day from there on will be a happier day, because you're doing things that you love doing, serving the purpose that you want to achieve most. So give that a try. Try and write all those things down and see where you get to with it. It's a process, by the way. To start with, I think there was maybe 3 or 4 things on each of my lists, and I kept adding to them daily and weekly until I had a huge list, and then whittled it back down again to the things that really mattered most. Okay, so what are my takeaways? What are the top tips? I've mentioned this lots of times before in posts and comments, but these 3 things would really specifically help with happiness. The first one is to practice gratitude. It sounds fluffy. It can be very hard to stick to start with, but it genuinely makes a huge difference. So this isn't just some spiritual thing. It's scientific. It relates to a part of the brain called the RAS, which stands for something I can never pronounce or remember, along the lines of reticulated articular something. So, but it's this part of the brain that reinforces our focuses and reassures us that what we're focusing on is correct, because it's the brain's way of trying to reassure us and give us confidence. But what happens is, whatever we focus on, the brain finds more evidence to support. So if we're constantly negative, the brain will look for negatives to try and reinforce that feeling, to tell you that you are correct. Whereas if we're practicing gratitude, if we're talking constantly about the things that we're grateful for in life, the brain will say, oh, okay, this is what we're doing now, is it? I'll go and find more of that for you then. So you'll become more and more aware of positives, more and more aware of things to be grateful for, because your brain knows that come the next morning, you're going to need 3 of those to say out loud, 3 of those to write in your journal. So it will find more and more for you, and you become more aware of everything that's great in life, and therefore less aware of the things that are not so great in life, and you'll feel much happier very quickly. The next thing is what I've talked about all the way through this, is to seek first to help others. As soon as we've got an internal goal, we're concentrating on our own thoughts, our own feelings. It's a way of actually being quite selfish, but we'll be aware of everything that's going wrong, every reason why we haven't accomplished our goal yet. As soon as we put that focus onto others, we'll feel better about ourselves, because we know we're doing something worthwhile. We know that we're trying to help people, and it becomes so rewarding to do so. So think about ways that you can help others. It will instantly stop you dwelling as well in self-pity, because you're thinking about how others need help. And the next one, and it's really important, this, we lose our childishness. If you think about children in your life, they constantly find and play within their passions. They are laughing and joking and doing what they have fun doing on a daily basis. But as we grow older as adults, for some reason, we think we can't do that anymore, or we find other crap that gets in the way. So have a think about this. Write down the things that you actually genuinely enjoy doing, and then get them done. Get them built into your life, and make sure that you go and do those things, because there's nothing selfish about that. You cannot be good for other people if you are down in the dumps, feeling depressed because you're not exploring the things that you're passionate about. So get out there and do it, and you'll find that every other aspect of your life improves as a result. And then finally, make sure that you take time to recharge, switch off a little bit. It can be 5 minutes of meditation. It's enough to really relax, focus, and recharge. I hope that's really helped. And as always, if you want to contact us, we're available on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at the _JTU_project.